Alright, let's see the Death of Apocalypse stuff. I've never even seen this. I don't even know what this is. Because in the wake of Apocalypse, shocking demise, 3 other heroes have met grim, inexplicable ends. Your mission? Return to the scene of the crimes. Hunt for every clue, piece together the puzzle, and uncover the truth behind these death mysteries. The Death of Wolverine. Death of Wolverine? It ain't easy to kill me. It ain't it ain't easy to kill me. It's even harder to keep me dead once you do. Guess that's one of the benefits of having a healing factor as one of my few powers. But whoever took me out this time made sure they finished the job, and the Krakoa resurrection protocol's offline. They almost did me in for good, but they didn't know Jubilee had gotten her hands on some Apocalypse death seeds. Now that she's brought me back to life as a horseman of death, someone's gonna have to answer to the Wolverine. Just as soon as I can remember who the hell they are. Here's what I remember. The rest of the superhero set were going around in endless circles as they tried to figure out what to do with Apocalypse faith harvesting engine. We're getting nowhere, and I was getting tired of all the yapping. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. While they're all bickered over stealing the egg, draining the gods dry, I went to a spot where Jubilee had dragged Apocalypse's corpse following his untimely demise. The Lazarus Chamber. Usually, that was where the big fella went to recover when he was on the brink of death. But this time, it didn't do him any good. Instead of bringing him back to life, it ended up being his final resting place. And apparently, it was almost mine. As soon as I got Apocalypse's body, I knew something was off. I popped out a claw and dragged it across his gray skin, only to discover that he didn't have a single drop of blood left in him. That's the thing. That's when things started getting hazy. I vaguely remember being ambushed by someone familiar, someone I trusted. But then everything went blazing red before I suddenly faded into darkness. The others say that when they found me, my body was drained of blood too. And there were only 2 vampires on the scene, and Blade had been with the other heroes at the time. All eyes fell on Jubilee. I ain't buying it though. I've known her since she was a kid, and she'd never try to hurt someone she loved. And if she did, she sure as hell wouldn't have brought him back. But maybe something inside her changed when Apocalypse made her one of his horsemen. I've been there before, and it brought out the worst in me. As tough as I trained her to be, it still might not have been enough to keep her from giving in her darkest impulses. Anyway, Blade's full of vampire hunting mode, ready to drive a stake through the kid's heart without any proof she did the deed. He claims she killed Apocalypse and tried to cover it up by killing me when it got too close to the truth. Now Emma and Daredevil are grilling me for answers, and all I got is this nagging feeling that there's a hell of a lot more going on in this nightmare of a timeline than any of us have ever started to realize. Case description. While the heroes argued endlessly around the faith harvesting engine, Wolverine grew sick of their indecision and went to the Lazarus Chamber to examine Apocalypse's remains on his own. As he was leaving, he ran into another living weapon, Jubilee. How do I return to the scene and gather clue words? Okay, Jubilee. He claimed he needed to confess something important long ago while under Blank's control. He had mercilessly blanked Wolverine's Blank. That shocking revelation awakened Blank's long-buried memories and threw him into a blank. No longer able to tell friend from foe, he popped his claws and attacked. To protect its Blank, the repentant soldier's Blank instinctively extended Blank on its own, and the Blank within drained Wolverine's Blank and absorbed his Blank, truly ended Logan's life for the first time. Here, zero understanding, zero clue as to what is going on. I'm gonna tell you what happened. I don't even have the words to put here. I don't even know who these people is. Jubilee, Wolverine, and someone else, right? All right. So here's what happened. As he was leaving, he ran into another living weapon, Bucky. He claimed he needed to confess something important. Long ago, while under Hydra's control, he had mercilessly attacked Wolverine's family. That shocking revelation awakened Wolverine's long-buried memories and threw him into a rage. No longer able to into a berserk. No longer able to tell friend from foe, he popped his claws and attacked to protect its master. The repentant soldier's arm instinctively extended its tendrils on its own, the vampiric arm, whatever, within, drained Wolverine's blood and absorbed his mutant power, truly ending Logan's life. Okay. Here's the second thing. The death of Psylocke. I did not think I would ever see my homeland again, after I was stolen from my reality by Deadpool and delivered to the Collector's Gallery. I had every reason to believe that the timeline from which I hailed had ceased to be. Psy, the fabled demon hunter, had truly become a Ronin, a warrior without a home, yet suddenly, there I was once more, in the forests of Mount Shiaru, with my trusty wolf Logan by my side. It was like a dream come true, but as with all dreams, it came to an end and left me with more questions than answers. I have long relied upon the uncanny power of my mind to guide me both through battle and through life, but this day, I fear my memories have betrayed me. I recall only fragments of the events that occurred, and even those leave me with a strange sense of uncertainty. What I do recall is this. I had come to the desert wasteland along with my allies, these new kin who called me Mutant and Sister, the X-Men, from their island nation of Krakoa. When we arrived, we discovered that one of their own, in Sabanur, the mighty Apocalypse, had been struck down by an unknown assailant. It was not long before suspicious glances became accusations. Hoping to uncover the truth, I tapped into my ability to summon spirits, a skill I acquired from the Shangori friends long ago. But I could not commune with Apocalypse. All I sensed were faint traces of undead energy. When I followed the trail towards Apocalypse's corpse, that's when everything began to unravel. As I stepped across the threshold of Lazarus' chamber, I found myself instantly transported back to the world I once knew. I was certain that it must be an illusion, but it wasn't. Whoever had cast it was truly skilled in the art of deception. Even my telepathy could not seem to break through the mirage. I took a deep breath of the crisp mountain air, glad to be home at last, and then a sharp pain pierced my chest. An arrow shot by an unseen attacker. As I fell to the ground, grasping for my final breaths, deep purple stained the snow-covered mountainside. And then, the only color that remained was black. Eternal peace was not yet mine to claim. However, another X-Men, Jubilee, had devoted herself to Apocalypse's service. Employing one of her master's death seeds, she restored my life. But the memories of what had occurred had been damaged along the way. Even with the help of another telepath, Emma Frost, we have been unable to piece together the full picture, and now, my experience is fueling more speculation among my allies. The one called Dizang seemed genuine in his desire to uncover the truth. I feel I can trust him to separate fact from fabrication, but others are far more eager to cast blame in order to identify the killer among us. Some suspect magic as the culprit, due to her skill as a sorcerer supreme and her direct connection to the undead as the Queen of Limbo. But I have no desire to point my finger or my sword at the woman who once fought at my side against Ultron. All will be revealed in time, but I fear it may not be before others share my fate. During a lull in the investigation, Psylocke attempted to summon the spirit Apocalypse but failed. What she didn't realize was that a cunning killer had been watching her every move. Not long ago, Blank had discovered where to rewrite Blank. With the tools of creation already in hand, the killer needed only the right blank to achieve his goal, so the killer's a man. And he believed that Blank, flowing through Blank, which came from her unique blank, might be the last thing he needed. So he trailed Psylocke to the Lazarus chamber while she was off guard, trapped her within a blank to frame Blank for the crime
killed Psylocke with an arrow imbued with blank, but to his killer dismay, his assumption was wildly wrong. All he obtained from Psy was a muted palette that allows the fragments of the lost word to be blank. Persons of interest. Loki, Mantis? And Magic? Or Phoenix? Who's this? The death of Gambit.
So, y'all probably wondering how your boy Remy LeBeau got himself into this mess. Well, sit on back and let Remy tell you a story. Or, at least parts of it I know. All their heroes gathered here and thieves were distracted, not just by Apocalypse's murder, but by the fact that Logan and Size both met their unexpected end in the very same room where Apocalypse's body was found. The Lazarus Chamber. Obviously, Mes Amis decided to... Is it Mes Amis? Is it Mon Ami? Obviously, Mon Ami decided to stand guard and make sure that no one else came in or out there till the case was solved. But Gambit wasn't just here to track down the killer's targeting his fellow X-Men. Nah, merci. I had business to take care of. Thieves' guild business. Remember that ancient stone that Black Cat delivered to the Kingpin back in New York? The Tablet of Life and Time? Well, what you might not know is that it's part of a pair. A counterpart, the Tablet of Death and Entropy, was rumored to be just as powerful. And it happened to be in Apocalypse's possession. The cat offered me a handsome sum to track it down and bring it back to her. No questions asked. So when we all raced off to Thebes on another grand adventure, I figured I'd be able to kill two birds with one stone. Never expected for a second I was gonna be one of the birds getting killed. I found a secret passage that let me sneak past the guards at the door of the chamber. I was about to start my search for the tablet, but as soon as I got near Apocalypse's lifeless body, I felt something strange inside me. See, I've been sensitive to energy no matter what form it can take. Potential, kinetic, you name it. But there's a special kind of energy I don't feel all too often. Pure cosmic energy. The kind that only generates by a true force of nature like the Phoenix. And for some reason, the big fella's body was still crackling with it. Obviously, I went to take a closer look. Big mistake. Before I knew what was happening, the party was over. Someone had gotten the jump on me, which ain't an easy thing to do. It was lights out on Bourbon Street. Came back to life for too long, thanks to Jubilation and her death seed. Only to learn I was struck down by someone who could tap into cosmic energy, just like Apocalypse before me. Of course, folks here are already casting blame on each other. People think it might have been a Black Panther using the last traces of the Phoenix Force, and the weapon Shooty was already researching on Clintar to protect the faith of his Panther god. But I got no reason to believe Charlotte would do me like that. Still, somebody did it to me, and to Ensabensur, and whoever it was has access to power way beyond this world. Till we found out who that somebody is, Gambit's got a feeling ain't none of us gonna be safe. Investigate. To fulfill his promise to the New York Thieves Guild, Gambit slipped past the guards, snuck into the Lazarus alone as he was carefully examining Blank's corpse, Apocalypse's corpse, in an effort to find Phoenix? Oh no, and to find the tablet of thing. Whatever. A mysterious killer suddenly appeared and mercilessly attacked him with the Phoenix Force? The killer who had been hiding himself from prying eyes of the assembled heroes here was none other than Black Panther? Acting on someone's order? He had come back to find a relic kept by Apocalypse when he discovered that Gambit had located the item first. Took out Gambit with Blank carrying Blank. By a strange twist of fate, both Blank at the scene were left unusual wounds laced with Blank, wrongly turning suspicion eyes towards Phoenix. Solve 3 mysteries to find the truth.
Oh. A patch of dark red bloodstains remains on the ground. It has long since seeped into the flagstones, clearly not recently left behind. These grooves.
These grooves. They're made by fireworks. They're made by fireworks. It's almost like they were gouged in the wall by some sort of powerful tentacles. Back when Hydra had me under their control, I did something terrible. Whatever it was, Bucky, I'm sure I've done worse. No, Logan, I think it was
Murdered your family. I knew it! While everyone else is trying to figure out what to do with Apocalypse's Faith Harvester engine, I went to check on the corpse of Apocalypse in the sarcophagus, which happened to be drained of blood. If you're treating me like some kind of criminal, I call him as a seasoned Jubilee. I'd rather die than hurt Logan. He's my best friend, one that happened to be drained of blood, just like your boss, Apocalypse. Since you're the only other vampire here, as far as I'm concerned, you're the only other suspect. Dang. There are several faint marks along the edge of the sarcophagus. It is difficult to tell whether they were left by someone or are simply natural marks left by the coffin's passage of time.
Black Panther, you have something you need to tell me.
Yes, I used my Kimoyo bead to scan the Winter Soldier's mechanical arm and found unexpected anomaly. The hive cells Bucky had previously absorbed are now laced with a healing factor that did not previously exist in their host's body. Before his unexpected demise, something triggered Wolverine, sending him into a berserker rage. Even though my telepathic abilities had waned, I could still grasp fragments of memories drowning in the sea of red. Ooh, dude, did I solve it without even... Dude, I literally solved it without even seeing, like, getting a single clue. Dude, that's crazy. Mission complete. That's Jubilee. Wolverine. And Bucky. Case closed.
The death of Wolverine. Well, Counselor.
Well, Counselor, Emma Frost said, have you uncovered enough evidence to point towards the culprit of the death of Wolverine?
Beyond a reasonable doubt,
No, Daredevil replied confidently.
we know that Wolverine chose to investigate the scene of the crime alone, while we were all debating our next move. That's when he discovered Apocalypse's corpse and drained blood.
And somewhere soon, after he went into a berserker rage, Emma added, obscuring his memories and making it impossible for me to get a clear mental image of his killer. When Logan's body was discovered, he had lost all the blood as well. Daredevil continued, which caused some of our other allies to jump to conclusions, but I prefer to stick to the facts. And those facts point towards Bucky, Daredevil said. He struggled to control himself since the days he was in Hydra acid. And it's clear that the more recent experiments on him had made things any easier. He had his fair share of bad breaks, that's certain, Emma said, but we've got all shadows in our past. That doesn't make us killers. In his case, it does, Daredevil said. But if you want more proof, I got data from the Kimoyo bead scanning showing that the hive cells in his body suddenly have traces of healing factor. Added to the gouges in the chamber walls, which match the tentacles that come out of his mechanical arm as well. I think we have our man. Why would he do such a thing? Emma wondered out loud. That's what I was hoping you could find out, Daredevil replied. Logan's memory may be clouded, but you might be able to see into his. It will be a challenge, Emma added. As I said, my telepathic abilities couldn't function properly under the influence of that big metal ball. You wouldn't need it, Wolverine interrupted. Oh, you wouldn't need it, Wolverine interrupted. Bucky's already told me the truth to what he told me once in this chamber before everything happened. What is it? Daredevil inquired. What did he say? I murdered Logan's family, Bucky said with a lump in his throat. His wife, his child. The revelation must have been what sent him into Wolverine into a frenzy, Daredevil surmised. A fight must have broke out between the two of you, which explains the mark I felt on the wall. It doesn't explain the state you found you in. But it does, Emma said, still reeling. He wasn't in control. The ancient entity inside of him took over, subjugating the mind of its host and doing unspeakable things to its enemy, feasting on him. They both did everything they could to fight it, but it was no use. Well, that's one murder solved, Daredevil said. But sadly, it won't be the last. We need to move on. The question is, can you, Logan? I know all too well what it's like to be controlled by someone else, Wolverine said. This ain't his fault, and something's telling me we got bigger problems ahead. Ooh, I got it. Wonderful. Case closed. Death of Wolverine. Ding. Magic, my dear, please tell me you didn't do this. Why would I have any reason to harm a fellow X? My only goal is to save the collapsed timeline. My world is doomed. I won't see it vanish like size. I know full well how far one might go to bend destiny, Ileana. Ooh. An unsettling rustling comes from deep within the undergrowth. A dark shape darts between the leaves and vanishes. Upon closer inspection, it seems to be only a few Nile grass rats. Sure, Daredevil. There's something unusual about Psylocke's blood. If you can believe it. He says something, it almost smells like paint. An arrow imbued with energy of the undead. Have you ever seen such a thing before, Loki? Me? Why, of course not, brother. You would be much better off asking Hela than I. Tell me what you remember, Psylocke. As soon as I uncovered the undead energy emanating from the apocalypse, I felt as though I was transported home to my beautiful watercolor universe. As if the grass sprouted from strange limestone wasn't already strange enough, it looks almost as if these plants were drawn here. They seem to be made from the same substance as Psylocke's blood. There's something almost ethereal about it, like an illusion from another timeline. Psylocke's sword is still slung across her back. Sheath bears several distinctive scuffs, looking at first like it was violently scraped against something, but the marks are old, making it hard to determine whether they're connected to this case. Is that everything? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Is it Psylocke? Whoa. Psylocke, Loki, and magic. Frame magic? Oh. I thought he was framing Hela. Alright, whatever. Death of Psylocke. Tell me what you remember, Psylocke, Emma Frost said. As soon as I discovered the undead energy emanating from Apocalypse, Psylocke replied, I felt as though I was transported home to my beautiful watercolor universe. An interdimensional portal? Daredevil asked. No, Psylocke replied. My timeline was destroyed long ago. This is only an illusion, yet it seems so real. In order to fool my sense, it must have been conjured by some skilled in the ways of deception. Perhaps another telepath, Emma suggested, or a sorcerer? I do not know, Psylocke continued. It was so overwhelming I let my guard down for an instant, and I paid the price. An arrow pierced my chest, delivered by a secret assassin. As my blood stained the snow, my memories shattered into fragments, which thankfully I have been able to help piece together again, Emma said, for the most part. I would gladly sacrifice a few lost memories for another chance at life, Psylocke said. If not for Apocalypse's death seed, everything would still be black. But we still need to identify your murderer, Daredevil said. Are those who suspect magic. Ileana would never do such a thing, Emma argued. She told me so herself. I understand why you might accuse the Queen of Limbo, Psylocke said. The arrow that felled me did contain traces of undead energy similar to those identified in Apocalypse. Then why not point fingers at Hela? Emma demanded. She is still being held securely in the 8th city, Daredevil said. Even if it was she who provided the weapon, or even plotted the murder, she must have done so through someone else. Then who, Emma? Reed Richards said that Psy's blood had a unique quality to it, Daredevil responded. Like it was infused with a force of creation. I examined it myself and it smelled almost like paint. The reality I came from was vibrant and unique, Psylocke said. Perhaps my assailant was not after me, but rather what runs in my veins. Rumor has it that Loki has obtained a phoenix feather and has woven himself in an enchanted canvas, Emma said. All he would need to create entire worlds or paint out existing ones is the right ink. Alas, have you uncovered my scheme? Loki said, materializing suddenly. It was all for naught. I thought warrior's blood was the very fabled ink of destiny I sought. So you murdered one of my people for nothing? Emma snarled. How dare you? We both know that death means nothing to mutants these days, Loki said. Psylocke was bound to find a way back to the mortal realm. That was quite the gamble, Daredevil said. How can we ever trust you again? You shouldn't have in the first place, Loki replied. But to make amends, I promised to use the blood I stole to create an ink-washed garden for Psy that hopefully she can forgive my trespasses. Forgiven, Psylocke said, her cold gaze fixed on Loki, but never forgot. Death of Psylocke. The butterfly trap. Death. Ooh, a couple lips. Suspended above are numerous time-worn cables connecting to a resurrection sarcophagus of Apocalypse. They are constructed of unknown components, their function difficult to identify on short notice. The one certainty is, like the pyramid itself, they are a product of celestial technology. I was just trying to find the tablet of death and entropy. Instead, your boy Gambit got himself killed just like Apocalypse. And both our corpses ended up overflowing with some kind of cosmic energy. A faint tattoo is visible on Gambit's arm. The lettering has faded with time, but you can make out that it seems to relate to Rogue. Although it is clearly unrelated to the case, there seems something a little off about it. So where is the tablet of death and entropy you were eager to die for, Remy? What? Je ne sais pas. I swear Apocalypse had it on him. But it ain't there no more. Whoever took me out must have taken it too. Emma, I have results of the analysis you asked me to perform. And? As suspected, Apocalypse's wounds does contain trace of the Phoenix Force. Which means all of us who were chosen to wield it are still suspects. That's the strange thing. Gambit's wounds don't match, as were made by something with an entirely different cosmic signature. One I've never seen before. Well, this is curious. What'd you find, Emma? A hole in the wall. It does look like it was caused by a gunshot, but there are no traces of a projectile embedded within. If Gambit was killed by a bullet, where is it? The size of the entry and exit is exactly the same. It's almost as if he was impaled by something like a light beam of energy or a spear. According to the Mr. Fantastic, there's only one person with spears with the Phoenix Force at their disposal. Black Panther. These wounds are strange, but judging from their angles of entry, it's almost certain they were made by a handgun. If that's the case, there are only 2 of us trapped here who carry firearms, Blade and Winter Soldier. Let me, like, me, both were once chosen to wield fractions of the Phoenix cosmic might.
They're not. They're not the ones packing heat. While you two were busy playing detective, we found Parker Robbins lurking around in the corner of the pyramid.
The boy who was supposedly granted Oblivion's power. What does he call himself again? The Cape?
The Hood. He says he was sent here by Oblivion to investigate the energy fluctuations from Apocalypse Ascension. But I get the feeling we can't trust a thing he says.
He was carefully examining the tablet of entropy. Towards Black Panther? Oh. Black Panther.
That's Gambit, and this is the Hood.
Our murder mystery is finally coming to an end, Emma Frost said. Do you really believe T'Challa could have killed Gambit? Daredevil asked. Not for a second, Emma replied. Fear inspired me to let the evidence lead us to a conclusion, and it did lead us in his direction, at first.
You're right,
Daredevil agreed. Once we figured out that Gambit's wounds couldn't have been made by a conventional bullet, we had to consider other weapons that could have left such distinct entry and exit wounds. The Black Panther sphere seemed like a likely choice, and since he was one of the few here who had chosen to harness the power of the Phoenix, Emma said, all signs pointed to Wakanda. And he was motivated as well, Daredevil said. T'Challa would never have allowed Apocalypse to absorb Bast's faith. And when Gambit detected the residual Phoenix Force in Apocalypse's wound, Panther might have feared that his crime would be exposed. But thanks to Reed Richards, we can take T'Challa's name off our list, Emma said. He confirmed that the cosmic energy in Gambit's wounds did not match the traces of the Phoenix Force found on Apocalypse's body. Once again, Daredevil said, 2 corpses, 2 different murderers. But even with the King of Wakanda and the other Phoenix hosts ruled out as Gambit potential killers, Emma continued, we still have other suspects. Parker Robbins, Daredevil said, walking over to the makeshift cell where the young man was being held. I prefer the Hood, he replied with a smile. Tell me how you did it, Daredevil said, and there's no use in lying. I'll know. It's easier, Mono, the Hood said. When I signed up with Oblivion, he upgraded my arsenal. Suddenly my handgun can shoot rounds popping with his power, and as the name of my new masters suggests, they obliterate everything in their path, including themselves. And you shot Gambit with one of these magic bullets? Emma asked. Why waste Oblivion's power on a fellow thief? He was about to take something my boss wanted, the Hood replied. A tablet of death and entropy. I was just planning to swipe it off Apocalypse's dead body and get the hell out of here, but the Cajun got in the way. Ah, so that's where the tablet went, Emma mused. Yeah, the Hood continued, but you can have it back. All this ain't worth some old hunk of stone. The fact that you would give up your prize so easily seems suspicious, Daredevil said. After all, not long ago you were willing to kill for it. What can I say? The Hood replied. I've had a change of heart. Been watching from the shadows long enough to know I'm better off working with you than against you. For now, at least. And what will Oblivion think of that? Emma asked. Don't really care, the Hood said. He may have given me the power, but he ain't the one calling the shots. I am. And I'm gonna make sure no one forgets it. Damn. Case closed. Alright, can I get him on my sarcophagus? What the hey, yo? What is clues? Undead energy? Phoenix Force is Gambit. Which is Gambit? Reveal the truth. The death of Apocalypse. 4 murders, Daredevil said to the heroes assembled in Thebes, but only 3 of the killers have faced justice. We rule out the notion that anyone in our number is on a killing spree, Emma Frost said, but we have yet to determine who possessed the might, the means, and the motive to strike down Apocalypse during his ascension. That's why we gathered you here again, Daredevil said, to share with us any information you could help identify the culprit who set all this in motion. We have the evidence, but we're hoping you have the final pieces that will complete the puzzle. The answers likely lie within Apocalypse's body itself, Emma said. His wounds had a number of unique properties worthy of further consideration. First, before Bucky showed up, Daredevil said, Wolverine discovered that Apocalypse's body was completely drained of blood. Still wasn't me, Jubilee said, flashing her fangs at Blade as she gave a sarcastic smile. We know, Jubilation, Emma said, but there must be another explanation for his anemic state. Not long ago, Venom suffered some severe wounds in his duel against Null, Mr. Fantastic said. His blood loss was abnormal, as if the weapon he was cut with had somehow siphoned the vital fluids from his body. They always say whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, Reed added, but I can tell you that doesn't apply to the All Black. The All Black? Thor questioned. It cannot be. There must be another explanation. Perhaps, Emma said. And if we move on to our next bit of evidence, we might find out. Next, before being dragged into the illusion, Daredevil said, Psylocke detected undead energy lingering in Apocalypse's wounds. Curious, Loki mused. Hela once told me a discussion she had with Null before she became the Queen of Black. She claimed that the All Black carries a kind of undead energy within its blade that gradually drains the soul of anyone it wounds. Maybe that's why the Lazarus Chamber couldn't revive Apocalypse, Jubilee said. Part of his soul was missing. An interesting assessment, Emma replied, but there is one more factor that needs to be considered. Finally, according to Gambit, Daredevil said, he locked onto traces of the Phoenix Force in Apocalypse's wound while searching for the tablet of death and entropy. Back on Clintar, Magic said, Jean was wounded by All Black. If the Phoenix Force has left residual energy in all those who it has touched, could the All Black still carry a hint of it as well? Looks like we have our murder weapon, Daredevil said. Do we truly believe Null has returned already? Captain America said. Nay, Thor replied. Not Null. I heard of another who has wielded the Necro Sword, a butcher of gods who has been wreaking havoc in this timeline for many centuries. Perhaps the fluctuations in divine energy from Apocalypse's attempt to ascend caught his attention and drew him here, Mr. Fantastic deduced. If I were devoted to slaughtering gods, Emma said, taking one out before he could fully claim his mantle seems like a wise move. I don't get it, Jubilee said, doubt in her voice. An execution, this savage feels intensely personal. As far as I know, Apocalypse didn't have any beef with this god butcher. If he's in the process of ascension, then technically he isn't a god to be butchered, right? So why him? And more importantly, who's next? 100 units for reading all that. It's the God Butcher. Case closed.